Donald Trump has ordered a full naval blockade of Venezuela, with American forces seizing oil tankers accused of smuggling crude in defiance of sanctions.
We've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, a large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually.
This important interruption is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Protect your money and your identity. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code here to get ExpressVPN right now and save up to 73% on annual plans today. Right, let's get back into it.
That the move is designed to starve President Maduro of cash and force China to abandon its oil for debt lifeline, keeping his regime afloat. Washington believes that if the oil stops flowing, then Maduro's allies at home and abroad may finally turn on him. So let's work out if that is really what is going on here and talk to the brilliant Deputy Assistant to the President, Senior Director for Counterterrorism, Sebastian Gorka. Seb, is that what this is really about? It's choking China.
It's really about the reinstantiation of something we've done before, Bev, called the Monroe Doctrine. This isn't classified. Every single one of your viewers can check it out. Just over a week ago, the president published the Unclassified National Security Strategy, which is the explication of everything he is doing around the world, from tariffs to getting rid of almost 2 million illegals, building the wall, rebuilding the U.S. military, and simply put, the new Trump version of the Monroe Doctrine is common sense. What happens in our backyard matters to us, whether it's, your neighbor down the street or whether it's a dictator that is flouting international sanctions, is in bed with drug traffickers, fentanyl manufacturers, and also inimical regimes like Iran. We're not going to let you get away with it. So it's just basically the revenge of common sense.
We heard the President address the nation last night. It was 9 p.m. local time here in Washington, D.C., and he summed up his year. It was rather pithy by his standards. It was only 15 minutes compared to the normal 50. But Seb Gorka, when you look back on your 12 months, almost, here in Washington, in your job, working in counterterrorism, what have your successes been?
I wish, one of the biggest problems is the president's moving too fast. We don't get a chance to explain everything that his incredible team is doing at the Department of War, Secretary of State, and my boss, acting National Security Advisor Marco Rubio, the Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller. Let me just tell you what belongs to my directorate for counterterrorism. We have SMITED more than 440 jihadis around the world, turn them into red mist. Not only that, we have returned home safely 79 U.S. citizens who were being held hostage. Not one penny was paid for them in ransom. So whether it is killing jihadis, blowing up the drug boats, whether it's bringing home Americans, we are back in the business of making America safe again. And we want to be joined by our friends and allies. Read the National Security Strategy. It has things that are very relevant to every British voter. We would like our cousins across the pond to also be as vigorous in the protection of their own countries and their own citizens. So common sense should be coming back everywhere, especially in the greatest civilization the world has ever known, which is the West.
I know you don't comment, Seb, on international policy very willingly, and I don't want to draw you on that. But we've got a new British ambassador in town any minute now, Christian Turner, no relative, at least not yet. And so I'm just wondering, from your point of view, how important is his role going to be in this town to bring the two countries together? You've grew up, a lot of your life you've spent in the UK, and I know that you feel a huge affinity and fondness for Great Britain. How important is this guy in town going to be?
It's up to him. It's up to him, and it's up to 10 Downing Street. I have incredibly good relations with the acting ambassador, James Roscoe, the DCM. He is a good man. He's a professional. And let me just put it in terms of, my portfolio. One of the very first, I don't like to travel. I've got enough work to do here in the White House. One of the very first nations I visited after becoming the Senior Director for Counterterrorism was the UK. At the operator level, when we are professionals to professionals, the relationship is as strong as it's ever been. There's a reason I went to the MOD, the FCDO. There's a reason I flew down to Hereford to meet one of the best counterterrorism units in the world, the SAS. So it's up to the ambassador. Does he want to engage in a more meaningful relationship that brings us even closer to each other? I'm open for that. I know the president is. He has a very, very soft spot in his heart for the UK. So I'm looking forward to the new ambassador's arrival. I can say I work very closely with the team who's already at the embassy. So really, it's up to him, and it's up to Prime Minister Starmer and 10 Downing Street.
And we don't have much longer left, Seb, but if I can just ask you, as the Senior Director for Counterterrorism, just your overall thoughts on that atrocity on Bondi Beach last weekend. Horrific.
It's the canary in the coal mine, anti-Semitism. I prefer to call it Jew hatred. When they come after the minority, the Jewish minority anywhere, it is very simply because of the jihadi mantra. What they say to their own adherents: first we come after the Sabbath, the Saturday people, then we come after the Sunday people, the Christians. So God bless the souls of all who were murdered, but this is about jihadism. It's not about gun control, it's not about hate speech, it is about global jihad, which we are wiping out every single day here from the White House. As I said, 449 jihadis SMITED since the president was sworn in again.
Okay, happy Christmas, Seb. Haven't said happy Christmas
Merry
to anybody yet on this show. It's only around the corner, isn't it?
GB News team. God bless you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We'll see you in the new year. Sebastian Gorka there.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 73% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 73% off ExpressVPN plus 4 extra months free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has drawn a firm line today on gender medicine for children.
So-called gender-affirming care has inflicted lasting physical and psychological damage on vulnerable young people. This is not medicine, it is malpractice. We're done with junk science driven by ideological pursuits, not the well-being of children.
This is not medicine, it is malpractice. Absolutely beautiful. Yet in Britain, Health Secretary Wes Streeting is allowing medical trials to go ahead on 220 children, taking puberty blockers despite admitting that he himself is uncomfortable with it. Well, with me now is Assistant Secretary for Health at the US Department of Health and Human Services, Admiral Brian Christine. And Brian, I just want to say congratulations and thank you for doing what every government around the world should be doing. How difficult was it for this decision to be made in your department?
Well, Bev, thank you so much for allowing me to be on here with you this evening. Let me first say that I have such tremendous appreciation for President Donald Trump and for Secretary Kennedy for providing the vision and the strength and the leadership so that we could tackle these transgender cartels head on. It was an easy decision for us here at HHS to move ahead with this because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing for the kids. It's the right thing for their parents.
And what did he mean there about the fact that it isn't medicine, it's malpractice?
Well, we know that when children have gender dysphoria, and gender dysphoria is a real condition, there are children who suffer from gender dysphoria, and they suffer terribly, as do their families. But the way you treat that is not with castrating chemicals or mutilating surgeries. The way you treat that is with compassionate, comprehensive, appropriate mental health counseling and support. So doing these surgeries, giving these chemicals, these cross-sex hormones, these puberty blockers, that's not the right way to treat these kids. Those things cause irreversible harm and damage. The way that we support treating, the way that science supports treating, is with counseling.
And so some of the practical steps that you've taken, Brian, stopping medical device manufacturers from marketing breast binders to children, even saying that sentence slightly boggles my mind. Stop gender dysphoria from being protected under disability law, and sex rejecting procedures are neither safe nor effective for children with gender dysphoria. But I like the fact that you recognise, as you say there, that this is a real condition, because we know that there are parents who are in such a desperate situation with children who will express confusing and confusion, let's say, perhaps, around their gender. And what has the response been, Brian, from parents who you've communicated with about this change of policy?
Well, Bev, the response has been overwhelmingly positive, because you're right, these parents hurt and suffer just like their children do. And what they see in the Department of Health and Human Services, Secretary Kennedy, myself, President Trump, is that individuals who really care about their kids. We care about their children. We love their children. We want what's best for these children. And that's the compassionate, comprehensive counseling we're talking about. The prior administration and my immediate predecessor, they weren't telling the truth. They weren't being straight. They were pushing a very warped social agenda and a radical political agenda. So what parents have told me is, they said, thank you for bringing sanity back, and thank you for truly caring for our children.
But where does that ideology come from, Brian? Is it partly because there is money to be made in individuals that you can ensure are subscribed to medicine for life, for that is what this treatment involves?
I think there's no question that there are some in the medical community who look at these children as a source of income. I think there are some in this radical agenda who look at these children as pawns, pushing their own personal agenda. But that's not the approach we're taking, Bev. We're taking the approach that we are standing with science. We are standing with gold standard science, with compassionate care for these kids. These kids are not some kind of income stream for us. These kids are humans. They're people who need to be cared for and need to be taken very special care of. That's how we're approaching this problem.
So when you hear that in the UK, despite the Cass report, which warned against too keenly pursuing gender-affirming medicine, and despite the Supreme Court definition of what a woman is, we are still about to embark on an NHS-funded trial of puberty blockers for more than 200 young children. What do you think, Admiral Christine, when you hear that?
I was very surprised when I recently read that. I don't know much about the study, but I do know the things you're talking about. I was very surprised by that. I think that has no place. I don't think we use children as guinea pigs. We don't use them as pawns. We use what works. We've had a comprehensive study, our gender dysphoria report, that clearly showed and was backed up by peer reviews. In other words, other scientists reviewing our report saying, yes, you guys got it right. That shows that what we do is treat these kids with mental health care and support. So I was very surprised when I heard that coming out of the UK. Surprised and really disappointed.
Well, you know what I think the logic is? The logic is they're saying we need proper clinical trials. We need to see the evidence so that we can make a decision in the long term about puberty blockers and gender affirming care. How are they seeing that so differently to you guys at the HHS?
Well, Bev, one thing that Secretary Kennedy and President Trump demand is science. As we make our decisions and our policies backed by science, we have the science, Bev. The science shows that these kids, if you support them with counseling, support them with love, and I think if the parents want, I agree with pastoral care as well. If you support these children, the vast majority, by the time they're in their mid to late teens, are completely comfortable in their skin. We have the science backing us. We've done that. We know what the science shows. That's why we've taken the steps that we took today.
Well, hopefully the UK is watching what is happening here in your department, because I think it's one of the most radical and population changing places in the world where you work right now. So again, thank you and huge congratulations, Admiral Brian Christine there, who is of course right-hand man to the legendary Bobby Kennedy.